All right, let's talk about a sport that's this incredible mix of high-tech gadgetry and just, pure outdoor grit. It's a race, it's a puzzle, and it's a hunt for something you can't even see. We're diving into the world of amateur radio direction finding.
Okay, just imagine this for a second. You're out in the middle of a forest. Your mission? Find 5 hidden radio transmitters before anyone else does. How would you even start? Well, this is how you do it. This isn't some made-up scenario. It's a real, incredibly intense sport that turns a huge chunk of wilderness into this massive, high-stakes game board, pushing you both mentally and physically.
So, what is this ultimate game of high-tech hide-and-seek? Let's get into it.
So, the official name is Amateur Radio Direction Finding, or ARDF for short. The easiest way to think about it is like taking 2 different sports and just smashing them together. You've got all the map and compass skills of orienteering, but then you add this whole technical layer of tracking radio signals. Oh, and yeah, people call it fox hunting, but don't worry. The only foxes we're chasing are electronic.
Now, the goal sounds pretty straightforward, right? Be the fastest person to find a bunch of hidden, low-powered transmitters, the foxes, that are scattered all over some seriously rugged wooded terrain. Sounds simple, but trust me, it's anything but.
So, if you're gonna hunt these invisible foxes, what do you need? Well, you're gonna need a pretty specific set of tools. Yeah, this is definitely not a sport where you can just show up in your running shoes and hope for the best.
First things first, you've got your map. And this isn't just any map. It's a super detailed topographic map that shows you every hill, every stream, every patch of forest. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. Unlike normal orienteering, the map doesn't show you where the transmitters are. Nope. All you get is the start and the finish line. The rest is a total mystery you have to solve.
And this is what you're actually looking for. This is the fox. It's made up of 3 parts. The transmitter itself, which is beeping at its own little unique Morse code signal, that orange and white flag so you can actually spot it when you get close, and a punch device, which is how you prove you actually found it.
So let's look at the whole toolkit. You've got your radio receiver and a directional antenna. That's what tells you where the signal's coming from. Then there's the attenuator, and this thing is absolutely crucial. See, as you get closer to the fox, the signal gets really, really loud, almost deafening to the receiver. The attenuator basically turns the volume down, letting you fine-tune and pinpoint the exact spot. Of course, you've got your classic map and compass, and finally, your control card, which you stick in that punch device we just saw. And to make things even more interesting, the competitions usually happen over 2 days, and they use 2 totally different radio frequencies. On one day, you're on the 2-meter band. The signals on this band love to bounce off hills and buildings, which means you get all these false readings and echoes you have to sort through. It's tricky. Then on the other day, you're on the 80-meter band. Here, the signal is way more direct and accurate, but the gear is different, so each day is a completely new puzzle to solve.
Okay, gear check is done. You know what you're up against. So let's actually walk through a race. How does this whole thing play out from the starting horn to that final sprint for the finish line?
All right, the race starts and bam, you get your map. You're immediately tuning your receiver, listening for that first faint beep 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 of the first fox. You get a bearing, glance at your map, and you are off, crashing through the woods. You finally spot that orange and white flag, you punch your card to prove you were there, and then, without even stopping to breathe, you're already listening for the next fox. You just do that over and over until you found all the ones you need, and then it's just an all-out sprint to the finish.
But this is where the real challenge kicks in. The mental game. Picture this. Your receiver is telling you there's a signal coming from 2 different directions. One is probably the real deal, the direct path. The other, it's probably just a signal bouncing off that huge hillside over there. So which way do you go? A wrong move here could cost you 5, 10, 15 minutes, and maybe the whole race. And that is the heart of the sport. It's not just about being the fastest runner out there, it's about being the smartest navigator. You're constantly trying to figure out, okay, my receiver is telling me this, but my map is telling me that's a giant cliff. The shortest path on the map might lead you right into a swamp. It's this constant physical and mental chess match against the course, the clock, and the other competitors. And what's really cool is that this is a sport for literally everyone. The competitions are split into all these different age and gender categories, from teenagers all the way up to folks who are 70 and older. To keep things fair, the number of transmitters you have to find changes depending on your category. It really makes it an accessible, lifelong sport you can keep doing for decades.
Now, this isn't just some quirky little hobby that a few people do. ARDF is a legit global community, and it's got a pretty long and cool history. I mean, the basic idea has been around for almost 100 years. One of the very first fox hunts was held in the UK way back in 1926. But the sport as we know it now, it really took shape in Northern and Eastern Europe in the late 1950s. That led to the first European Championship in 1961, and today the whole thing is organized by the International Amateur Radio Union. And from those roots in Europe, the sport has just exploded across the world. You've got major hubs in places like China, Australia, and right here in the United States. It's become this amazing global network, connecting athletes who all share this passion for radio, for navigation, and for being outdoors. And just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, look at this number, 570. What's that? Well, that's how many athletes from 33 different countries all showed up in Serbia for the 2012 World Championships. So yeah, this isn't just a weekend get-together. It's a serious international sporting event.
When you boil it all down, it really is what it sounds like. A timed race where you, the competitor, have to use a map, a compass, and your radio gear to find your way through some really challenging terrain. It's the ultimate test of your tech, your skill, and your self-reliance. And that kind of leaves us with one last question to think about. I mean, we live in a world that is just saturated with GPS. A little blue dot on our phone tells us exactly where we are, 24/7. So what's the point of a sport that takes all of that away? What can we learn about the world around us and, maybe about ourselves when the only thing we have to guide us is a map, a compass, and the sound of a signal we can't even see?